Oh, hello, yes. I'm on the jw.org website. Am I through to Brentford congregation?
You're through to Brentwood congregation.
Brentwood. Sorry, I haven't got my glasses. Okay, thank you. Is it possible to help? I was given some literature at the cart, and they suggest I look at Enjoy Life Forever. Are you familiar with the book? I've got questions about what I've been reading, really.
Yeah, very much so, yes.
Do you have the book in front of you, or is it convenient at the moment? Or if you're busy, I don't want to disturb you if you're with your family on a Sunday.
No, it's lovely to get your call. Let me just get my laptop.
Yeah, sure, thank you.
Are you in Brentwood yourself?
No, I'm somewhat to the west.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Which section are you looking at?
It's lesson 24 in section 2, paragraph 3. It's page 99.
What's the truth about angels? That section, yeah?
Yes, it's paragraph 3 that puzzles me. Thank you.
How do Satan and the demons try to mislead us?
Yes. It says Satan and the demons mislead many people through demonism or spiritism, which is the bad practice of trying to communicate with spirits. For example, some people consult astrologers, fortune tellers, psychics, and witch doctors. Others seek forms of medical treatment that involve spiritism. People are also tricked into believing that they can speak to the dead. But Jehovah warns us, do not turn to spirit mediums and do not consult fortune tellers. He gives us this warning to protect us from Satan and the demons. They are God's enemies and they want to harm us. It sort of condemns several things here. It says we shouldn't try to talk to the dead. We should have nothing to do with the occult. And we shouldn't try to communicate with spirits or use psychics or astrologers. I mean, have I got this right?
That's what the Bible teaches. So, yeah, essentially that quote from the Bible cites that, and there's plenty others in this section and other sections in the Bible that indicate how God feels about us trying to do that, because whilst many people would like to believe that they're talking directly to their loved ones, the Bible teaches that the condition of the dead is actually that we're not conscious of anything. So it's a way that sort of wicked spirit creatures use to kind of mislead humans, and then once you kind of get into that kind of realm of things, it can cause problems for us as humans.
I bought several books from book dealers, including a stack of old Jehovah's Witness books. One of the books I bought was The Finished Mystery. And on page 144, it says that Pastor Russell is guiding the Watchtower Society from beyond the veil. Beyond the veil is an old sort of English term for after you're dead. So he died in 1916. This book was published in 1917. And it says that he's guiding the Watchtower Society from, after he's dead. I mean, wouldn't that be spiritism? Page 144 of The Finished Mystery.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
Well, how do I put that? Well, no, we wouldn't indicate that he is guiding anyone today, because obviously the condition of the dead is that he is no longer alive. However, the Bible teaches there is a limited number of humans that will go to heaven, 144,000, and it's very likely that Brother Russell was of that number. So
he was or he wasn't? Sorry, he was or he wasn't?
I believe he was, yes. So he will be in heaven at this time. However, we wouldn't suggest that he is individually guiding us today in any way.
I realise that. I'm fully aware of that. But a century ago, that's what you taught. Russell was guiding the Watchtower Society as a non-human spirit creature, because he'd been resurrected when he died as a non-human spirit creature. He was guiding the Watchtower Society from beyond the grave. I mean, I'm kind of a bit shocked at that.
I must admit, I've never come across that reference myself. However, that is not a Bible teaching that Jehovah's Witnesses, adhere to today. So we recognise that also that over time, obviously you mentioned a century, the scriptures speak about how God, makes the light become brighter over time. And I think Jehovah's Witnesses is very open in saying that things that we believed at one time perhaps weren't correct, and it's been adjusted. So I can't recall that reference being brought to my attention before, but that's certainly not something that is being taught these days.
I mean, groups like the Mormons, they claim that angels and gods have visited their leaders and communicate with their leaders. I mean, there are other extreme groups who teach similar things. So there's a South Korean group, Sunjonji, that's actually very similar to Jehovah's Witnesses. Their leader, Mr. Lee, claims that he's the faithful and discreet slave who God appointed in the year 1966. Many of these leaders in groups like the Mormons and Sunjonji claim that their leaders received messages either from God directly or from God via angels. I mean, what do you say about that?
Well, as Jehovah's Witnesses, our belief is that there is a governing body that are Jehovah's Witnesses that are being spirit directed by God at this time, with Jesus as the head of the congregation, and that they are providing the food at the proper time and directing the organisation and the preaching work. So that, again, that's in harmony with what the Bible teaches regarding the faithful and discreet slave. And the evidence to me suggests that that's what they're doing.
That's exactly what other groups teach as well. I mean, Mr. Lee of Sunjonji claims he's the faithful and discreet slave. Unless you go to his group, Sunjonji, you'll go to hell. Because they're the only group that have the truth. Their light gets brighter and brighter. They have the only truth. And if you're not with them, then you're with the devil's organisation, because all other religions other than Sunjonji are of the devil. There's many religious groups that teach this sort of thing.
And that's why, as individuals, we need to make up our minds. Well,
yes.
What does the Bible teach as a whole, and how do that particular religion marry up to what the Bible says? So, for instance, does that group go to war? Is that in harmony with, the way Jesus taught about loving one another? Do they, how do they?
Well, they would say that you don't obey those things. They would say that only they are the ones who are obeying the Bible. As for warfare, I mean, that's a different topic. I don't want to get diverted onto that, but the Watchtower's had a long involvement in politics and warfare going back over a century from what I've done. Going back to this book, paragraph 3, it says, "Do not turn to spirit mediums and do not consult fortune tellers." It quotes Leviticus 19:31. So it seems to say that we shouldn't have any involvement in spiritism at all. Have I got that right?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. But the Watchtower quoted Johannes Grieber for 20 years. Grieber was a defrocked Catholic priest. He married a woman who he left. He was defrocked, and he married a woman who was a spiritist. She had seances. Grieber got involved in this. And Grieber's Bible is the only Bible that was translated using Ouija boards. So he'd get the Ouija board out, and he and his wife would ask the spirits to translate Bible passages for them. And Grieber's quoted for 20 years in Watchtower literature. I mean, the Aid to Bible Understanding quotes him twice, page 1134 and page 1669. The Word, Who Is He According to John, on page 5, quotes him in support of the Grieber rendering. The spirits told Grieber, you see, that John 1:1 should read, "The Word was a God." Why did the Watchtower quote a known spiritist for 20 years? They even admitted in a Watchtower, it's quite a long article, 15th of February 1956 Watchtower, page 111, that Grieber was a spiritist, and yet they still quoted him for 20 years after that.
That's not a question I'm in a position to answer, but it would be more based on the translation content rather than what he proposed to do. I don't know if that was aware at the time, but anyway, the translation about John 1:1 is in accord with other scholarly translations that they have investigated, and hence that's why the modern New World Translation translates it that way. It's not just reliant on that person you just mentioned, Johann Grieber. It's based on other literature and translations and scholarly evidence on that. So
give me some evidence. Give me one piece of evidence. Don't give me lots of evidence. I just want one.
Well, I'm just interested. What is the purpose of this phone call, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, well, I'm reading your book, Enjoy Life Forever. I used to have a church background. I used to go many years ago. I was intrigued by this lesson 24, and I was just wondering if you could please help.
Well, it just sort of more sounds to me that you're just trying to kind of pick holes in perhaps the beliefs rather than having, you know.
How can you pick holes in the truth? If you have the truth, how could I, a mere human being? I'm in my 60s. I'm overweight. I walk with 2 sticks. I've got cataracts in my eyes. I'm in poor health. If you saw me, I'm quite a sad individual. I'm not a professor. I'm not a brilliant scholar. I don't have an IQ of 160. I'm just a very average, elderly, overweight person. If you have the truth, it can stand up to any investigation. That's what the truth is. The truth's got nothing to fear. I asked you to provide evidence. You said that there are other Bibles that read the word was a God. Can you just name one?
Well, I'm talking more about if I investigated the original translation that it was written in, and the language, and as I say, that's a discussion.
Yes.
That I'd like to spend a bit of time to research before I comment on that. But,
yes.
So I'm happy to revisit that in another day if that's convenient.
Yes, absolutely. That would be absolutely fine. I'm looking at the Appendix 2A of the Kingdom Interlinear Translation. That's page, let me see. My eye's very poor. 1139. It quotes the Monotesauron. It reads, and the word was a God. This is a sort of series of notes, Appendix 2A, on John 1:1. And one of the Bibles it mentions is in 1829, and the word was a God, and it quotes for that reference, the word was a God, the Monotesauron, or the Gospel History according to the 4 Evangelists by John S. Thompson in Baltimore. Well, John S. Thompson was another occultist. He contacted spirits in seances, and he was another person who asked the spirits to translate the Bible for him. And like Johannes Grieber, the spirits told both Grieber and John S. Thompson that John 1:1 was mistranslated, despite the fact that nobody with a PhD in Biblical Greek has ever translated it, and the word was a God. Nobody. John S. Thompson, in his Monotesauron, he appealed to the spirits in these seances to help him with his Bible translation work. And the spirits told him that John 1:1 should read, and the word was a God. Well, these are the 2 sources for the New World Translation. That's why your Bible reads, and the word was a God. It comes from the spirit world. It comes from what the spirits told John S. Thompson, who was a spiritist. The Ouija board hadn't been invented in his day, though, so he just used seances. And Grieber's New Testament, I think I said Bible, Grieber's New Testament was the only New Testament translated by Ouija board. And that's one of the sources for the New World Translation.
So obviously you're talking about things that I've not had a chance to investigate yet. So I'm happy to go away and look at it myself and get back to you if that would be convenient.
Yes, that's absolutely fine. I'm free every evening.
Okay.
There's just two other things. I could mention two other things, and you make a note of this and look into this. Pastor Russell was taken to court by J.J. Ross. J.J. Ross was a sort of Christian minister. I don't know which denomination. J.J. Ross was sued by Russell in 1913 because Ross called Russell ignorant. He said he was ignorant of the biblical languages. Russell foolishly took him to court and lost in court because Russell stood up in the dock and he said, I'm a biblical expert and I speak Greek and Hebrew. And so he was handed a part of the Greek text and asked to translate from Greek into English for the court, and he was unable to do that. So Pastor Russell, who founded Jehovah's Witnesses, in court was unable to translate a simple passage of Greek into English for the court. I mean, he was, he wasn't a biblical expert, was he?
Again, that's not something I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I have confidence in the current New World Translation, and I would rather the translation itself holds up rather than pointing to a mere man itself, really.
The New World Translation, this is my final point, you might wish to make a note of this. There were 5 men who translated the New World Translation, and it was headed up by Fred W. Franz, who became president when Nathan Homer Knorr died in 1977. Now, Franz flew to Scotland in 1953, I think it was. It was called the Douglas Walsh Trial. And in the Douglas Walsh Trial, Douglas Walsh was a Jehovah's Witness who refused to be conscripted into the British Army. And so he went on trial in Scotland, and Fred W. Franz flew to Scotland to defend him. Now, I've got the court transcript. I actually paid quite a lot of money for it a little while ago. So I've got the court transcript, and on page 7, the prosecution barrister has Franz in the dock, and Franz is under cross-examination. And the prosecution barrister says, I think you are able to read and follow the Bible in Hebrew, Greek, Latin, Spanish, Portuguese, German, and French. Answer from Franz, yes. So Franz said he spoke Hebrew. Now, he was an intelligent man. He was self-educated, and apparently he did speak several European languages with a very thick Brooklyn accent. But I mean, I just know a few words of Spanish. He was, I'm sure, a lot cleverer than I am, because he spoke several European languages, although with a thick Brooklyn accent. Now, later on in the cross-examination, on page 102, Franz was handed a Bible, and he was asked to translate from the English Bible aloud for the court in Hebrew a passage from Genesis 2:4, which is the first mention of Jehovah in the English Bible. And that's page 102, which I'll read to you. He ends up saying, I can't possibly do that. So Franz, the head translator of the New World Translation, perjured himself under oath in court. He said he spoke Hebrew, and when tested, he said, I can't possibly do that. I'll just read it. The prosecution barrister says, I think we come to the name Jehovah in the 4th verse, don't we, of the 2nd chapter of Genesis, page 34. Franz says yes. Barrister, you yourself read and speak Hebrew, do you? Answer, I do not speak Hebrew. This is the head translator of the New World Translation, under oath in court. Question, you do not. Answer from Franz, no. Question, can you yourself translate that into Hebrew? Answer, which? Barrister, that 4th verse of the 2nd chapter of Genesis. Franz, you mean here? Barrister, yes. Franz, no, I won't attempt. And then on the next page, page 103, to do that. So the head translator of the New World Translation, under oath, admitted he couldn't speak any Hebrew. Why should I trust a translation where not one member of the 5-man translation committee had any academic credentials at all? They were all complete amateurs. And under oath, the head translator admitted he didn't speak any Hebrew at all. In fact, he perjured himself. He lied under oath.
Again, that's not something I've ever come across, but I say the same thing as I said just now, is that rather than looking to individuals, I would look at the translation itself, and if there are issues with the wording used in the translation, I'd rather investigate that rather than any comments of an individual, because as I understood it, the translators were anonymous, so they're not trying to draw attention to themselves. And if you found something to indicate individuals that did it, that's fine. But to me, it's the actual scholarly work that I would rather investigate rather than what any individuals supposedly have said.
You say it's a scholarly work. Scholarly work is produced by scholars with PhDs in Greek or Hebrew. What are the academic qualifications of the people who wrote the New World Translation?
Okay, I'll reword it in a way that I have confidence in the Bible that I regularly use is an accurate translation, and I'm happy that if there are aspects to it that you find that other scholars perhaps feel otherwise, and I'm happy that to have a discussion based on that, and I can investigate based on the available information I've got.
Okay, thank you.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yep, that's absolutely reasonable. Thank you very much. And you can find out about the Douglas Walsh trial in the 1973 yearbook, page 133 to 135. It talks about Douglas Walsh and him going on trial and Frederick Franz flying to Scotland to defend him. Oh, it's 1954, not 1953. Sorry, I got that wrong. That's 1973 yearbook, page 133 to 135. Look, thank you very much for your patience with me.
That's okay. Would you like me to investigate the point you mentioned about John 1:1 and have another discussion, or would you like to leave it?
I'm quite happy to talk again. All I would ask is I'm only agreeing to talk. I'm not agreeing to endless texting back and forwards. I'm dyslexic, so I'm not going to read anything that you send me. But if you talk to me, I will listen. And I've got a pen and paper. I will make notes if you have anything significant to say. But what I have had in the past is I've spoken to a Seventh-day Adventist, and I was just spammed several times a day, more and more text, and then somebody showed me how to block, and then I could just put them on block. But what I'm not agreeing to is endless texting back and forward or going to meetings. If you want to phone me, that's absolutely fine. I'm free almost every evening. The only thing that would be convenient is, like the day before, choose an exact time and say, Robert, I'm going to phone you about this topic at this time. And if it's not convenient, which is very unlikely, I will text you back. But 9 times out of 10, if you let me know, I will be by the phone at that exact time. I don't carry the phone around with me. If I go to the shops or if I'm in the garden, I don't have the phone on me. I'm not a young person. I just leave it in the front room. So,
no, that's quite reasonable. Is it okay to call you Rob?
Yeah, Rob or Robert, yes.
Well, thank you for your time. I'll investigate this, particularly about John 1:1, and then is it okay to send you a text message to arrange a time?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can, but by all means do that. What I don't want is 3 or 4 or 5 copy and pastes of 20,000 words, just text and text and text, and then links to videos. If you've got anything to say to me, I'm happy to talk on the phone, or you could set up a Zoom room. I'm not very pretty to look at, though, I must warn you.
Oh, that's very good. Okay. Well, thank you for your time today, and I look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye now.